to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 97 and a half. My name is John Morgan. Cold coffee. Well, he's not with me. He's back in Las Vegas, but he is with me in spirit. There's no question about that because he was working hard all through the night from back home in Las Vegas while I was in Houston for UFC Fight Night 104 at the Toyota Center on the eve of the Super Bowl. It was the Korean Zombie looking like he didn't skip a beat, picking up a first-round knockout win over Dennis Bermudez. Man, let's just get into it, right? I was a unique experience for me. I was in the back of the house. I was pulling camera duty tonight. I was the video guy. Not something I do very often, but hey, I'm trying to be a contributor to the team, trying to round out my skills. So if you happen to see any of the videos this week on MMA Junkie and you like them, whether it be on the YouTube channel or on the site, that was me. That was me actually behind the camera doing all the shooting, the editing, and all that stuff. So, in this game, the journalism game doesn't quite pay what it used to anymore. It's kind of hard to specialize. You got to do a little bit of everything. But I was in the back, so did not get to sit cage side for this. That honor fell to Matt Erickson, who relayed the atmosphere to me. Did admit that it wasn't a huge crowd in the Toyota Center tonight. Of course, the announced attendance was not a huge crowd by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't really think it was about that. 8,119 was the actual number for a little more than 600,000 for the attendance. But, I think this was more of a showcase event for Fox. They're broadcasting the Super Bowl on Sunday. I guess later day. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning here in Houston. So a little bit later today, the Super Bowl will be taking place. And I think this was more about Fox kind of showcasing what they have as in terms of sports franchises and just looking good for advertising executives and celebrating with some of their VIPs and that sort of thing. So that's what this event was really about. And again, as we talked about on the pre-show, I think you'll only see this once every 3 years or so when Fox broadcasts the Super Bowl. But putting that aside, I thought we got a pretty damn good show, to be honest with you. I thought coming into this there were some fights that could surprise us, that could be good, and I thought we did get a pretty damn good night of fights. Now, I will say this: holy crap! I hope you did not look at my staff picks and use those to put your wagers down, because I had a horrible night, including the main event. Chan Sung Jung coming back from more than a 3-year layoff to score the first-round knockout over Dennis Bermudez. And I'll be honest with you, not that I didn't think it was possible. Of course anything's possible. This is mixed martial arts, right? That's why we love the sport. And, of course, the Korean Zombie is dangerous. But 3.5 years away, just didn't think it was going to be possible. And he came out and looked like the Korean Zombie of old, and maybe even better than the Korean Zombie of old. I don't think Dennis Bermudez fought a bad fight. I mean, he got in on a takedown early. That's what I thought he'd be looking to do, right? Not just stand there and trade. I thought he'd be looking to take the fight to the ground. He got in early and made some attempts at getting the fight to the floor, but Chan Sung Jung showed improved takedown defense. And I said at the beginning of the week, and I don't know it to be 100% true because it's been a couple years, and it's hard to jog your memory that much, but he just seemed more solid, more strong, more muscular this fight week. And certainly you add that strength to what I'm sure was a couple years of wrestling practice. I mean, he had to know that's what he had to shore up, right? Not that that's going to make you an All-American, but he had to know that that's what he had to shore up, and it looked like he did it. Shucked off a couple of takedowns, but Dennis Bermudez, to his credit, continued to press forward, continued to look to press the attack, and landed a couple of big right hands. I mean, huge right hands that landed flush. And the Korean Zombie showed exactly why his name is that. Chan Sung Jung just shucked it off, came back, and landed that massive right uppercut. Just pinpoint. Bermudez goes crashing to the ground, and a couple of hammer fists on the ground. And I'll be honest with you, had no problem with the stoppage. I thought Herb Dean was right on top of it and made the right call here. I think, even if it was just for a brief moment, I do think Dennis Bermudez was out of it. His body was limp. His head was kind of twisted and off to the side. His arms were twisted. I think he came to very, very quickly, but I do think it was the right call. So just an absolutely fantastic finish for Chan Sung Jung. And wow, such an interesting place. Now here he is, just 3 years away. Now back at it. Where do you put him? What do you do with him? I mean, is he ranked? He's certainly not in the title picture. I mean, 145 is such a stacked division right now. There's so much fun going on in that division. And, of course, we know what's happening at the top with Jose Aldo and Max Holloway unifying those titles here in a couple of months. But overall, I thought a great performance by the Zombie. Don't think he could have asked for more. Showed some wrestling defense. In a one-round fight, showed some wrestling defense, showed the fact that he still got that chin, and showed the fact that he's a dangerous striker. I just don't think you could have had a better comeback fight. And now it just opens up a just world of possibilities. And the Zombie was, as I said, all week long kind of excited to be talking to people again, excited to be back in the game. And after the fight, he admitted he was a little bit emotional with the experience.
Mr. Zombie, congratulations. Can you just can you talk about what it really felt like to finally get back in there after so long? I mean, 3.5 years is a long time away.
First of all, it feels really, really good, and I wanted to really thank all of the people who stood by me in that long time off.
Did he have any kind of way that he expected this fight to play out? I mean, could he possibly have expected he could get a first-round knockout? I mean, it would seem realistic that he would want to feel his way through things and maybe get into the second round and see what could happen after that.
I've changed the way I think a little bit about the fighting, and so I actually was expecting and planning for a 5-round decision. But I thought, if I can catch the knockout or a submission, then even better.
Was there anything that Dennis did? I know the knockout came pretty early in the fight, but was there anything that happened in that first couple minutes that let him see that there might be an opening quicker than he could have expected?
No, not really. I knew that he was going to come out and push me with his wrestling, and that is exactly what happened. But, for as long as the fight went, it was about what I expected.
3.5 years, as we said, very long time. Was there any point in that time when he thought to himself, you know what, this is such a long time that I'm going to have to be out, that I know I'm going to have to be out. Maybe I never will make it back to the UFC, or was it always in his head that this is no problem, I will make it back?
Yeah, I'm human too, and so there were times when I thought, can I keep up with the game? Can I keep developing my techniques? Sure, that's what I thought, and now I kind of feel like I'm about to cry.
So Mr. Zombie, as Matt Erickson pointed out there, nearly brought to tears by the emotion of the moment, man. It was powerful stuff. It was obvious that it meant so much for him to get this victory and to be back and to be right back in the middle of it, man. I just really honestly thought that maybe he bit off a little more than he could chew in coming back. I mean, here's a guy that on his way out the door had the great fight with Leonard Garcia with the submission win, the twister. Of course, he had the Mark Hominick knockout, the fantastic finish over Dustin Poirier, and then the loss to Jose Aldo. I mean, fighting some studs, no question about it. And but to come back after that time away, I just didn't think it was going to be possible. And he looked incredible. So now you got to wonder what you do next with him, right? I mean, dude, he's still as popular as ever. Even though it wasn't a huge crowd, the chants in there of Zombie, Zombie, Zombie were awesome. I mean, it's like it is like he never skipped a beat. There's something about his style. Maybe it's just the damn T-shirts that he had, but there's something about him that resonates with people. Even though he's a foreign fighter, doesn't speak any English, man, just the style that he brings to the cage, the cool nickname that he's got, people were cheering for him. And I think there's some interesting fights out there. I mean, the one that jumped out to me right away was I thought Cub Swanson. I mean, I think that would be a great fight. I do think that maybe I could see Cub saying, listen, man, thanks, but no thanks. I appreciate it, but that just doesn't do anything for me. And I think that would be fair. I mean, for Cub, I think Cub feels like, man, he's finally gotten himself elevated to a position where, he can be a little bit choosy. And I think he would enjoy a fight with Korean Zombie. I think it would be a fun fight. But I also know Cub Swanson is thinking, hey, I'm kind of around that chance where I'm in that, Michael Bisping territory almost, right? Where I know I don't have a ton left, and, I want to do what I can do to get myself in a title shot, and I'm not sure if Chan Sung Jung is the opponent that could do that for me right now. So I could see Cub Swanson saying, listen, I'm a little too high up the ladder right now, and I wouldn't hate on him for that, to be honest with you. I really wouldn't. The other one, I think, Jeremy Stevens is out there just campaigning for a fight. And, of course, he loves to stand and bang, and, I mean, that could be a lot of fun as well, right? I think that would make a lot of sense. So we'll see. we'll see. There's a lot of options on the table. I think this was just a new star in that featherweight division, an old star and a new star all at once. So a lot of options there for Chan Sung Jung. Now, quite the opposite for Dennis Bermudez. Man, was really streaking after a couple of wins. Victories over Tetsuya Kawajiri, Honi Jason. Those followed up the losses that he had. And, I think this sets Dennis back a little bit. And, no real fault of his own. I don't think he did anything bad here. I think he was fighting a good fight. I think he was doing what he needed to do. I mean, yes, would he have liked to get the takedown earlier? Of course. Does he wish he would have had the fight on the floor earlier? Yeah. But when he was forced into the stand-up game, he landed a couple of really big right hands. I mean, I just one mistake, one perfectly timed uppercut changed everything. But I think it does set him back a little bit. I mean, if you look at his overall record, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Now, that's one hell of a way to paint a picture when you consider that he had, a 7-fight win streak before that, and he had some amazing fights. A couple of fight night bonuses along the way. A fight of the night with Matt Grice, that was a classic. So I mean, the guy's been in some amazing fights, and he's still just 30 years old. So I'm not trying to shut the door on Dennis Bermudez, but man, this division is tough. It's a very tough division right now, even with Conor McGregor moving on seemingly forever. There's still some beasts in there. Jose Aldo, Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar, Chad Mendez. When he comes back from suspension, he's still a relevant fighter in the division. Ricardo Lamas is there. Cub Swanson is there. I mean, a lot of beasts right up there at the top. But even on the tier below that, I mean, what does Anthony Pettis have? What does Charles Oliveira have? Jeremy Stevens. So, I mean, there's a lot of good fighters in that 145-pound division. I think this is a big, big setback for Dennis Bermudez. And again, one that I don't really blame him a lot for. I don't think he had a bad game plan. I don't think he had bad execution. I think he just got caught. And, man, our staff picks, you look at MMA Junkie, and it's one of those ones that's funny because, sometimes we get readers that will chime in on the comments section or send us an email, and they're like offended. If we go, gosh, how many people are there now? Like 9 people picking or something like that. We're 9-0 in one direction, and people go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe your staff. You guys are hating so much on so and so that you guys went 9-0." But what you don't know is if you talk to all 9 people that are making picks, they're like, "Dude, I was so close to making that pick." You know what I mean? You could have 9 people that are 51-49 in one direction, and they pick that 51%, and it looks like it's a whitewash. And I don't know. To me, I think that was the thing here is that it's not that I didn't think Chan Sung Jung could win the fight. It's just that, I mean, you're looking for ways to break it down, right? I mean, styles, of course, make fights, but, when you haven't seen a guy fight for 3.5 years, I mean, that's just a massive red flag. And while I did think he could win, I just thought, this is not something we see very often. I mean, Dominic Cruz might be the only guy that comes to mind that you can think of. Here's a dude that can take that much time off and then come back and not only be competitive, but be dominant. So tough luck for Dennis Bermudez, man. This is a costly one for him. And he did show up to the post-fight press conference. He had no excuses for the performance. He said, listen, we weren't expecting a lessened version of the Korean Zombie. We were expecting the best version of the Korean Zombie, and that's exactly what we got.
Can you just talk about how things felt there in the first round until he caught you?
Everything was going my way. I felt I definitely improved this fight from my last fight, even though I didn't get the victory. Mistakes were made. The Korean Zombie capitalized on it, and it's all good. I mean, we'll keep moving forward.
You bounced back up pretty quickly after that. I know you weren't necessarily disputing the stoppage or anything like that, but as you're walking toward the fence, I mean, was it just a feeling of, like, shit, man, he got me? Is that kind of what goes through your head there?
I thought it was a little bit earlier stoppage. I know I was on Herb's leg, but I knew he was there trying to hit me, so I was shooting on him. It just, Herb was doing his job just to, keep us both safe in there. But yeah, I just, I had a big platform to make a rise to the top, and didn't go our way tonight.
Is there any sense of this being? I know you guys will talk about lose-lose situations. I mean, a guy who's been out for that long, it seems like everybody expects the guy who has not been on the shelf to win. Did it feel like that at all coming in?
I heard some people saying some things about him and ring rust and stuff like that, but we were ready and prepared for a tough Korean Zombie. I put myself in his shoes. If I was away from the sport for 3 years, man, I'd be so thirsty, so hungry to get in there and get after it. So yeah.
I mean, is that what comes next for you now? Is being hungry and being thirsty to get this one back and get right back started on a streak?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my fights, I take a guy, I throw him down on the ground, and beat him up. But I had some success standing. I rocked him, and we're just gonna work on that now. When a guy's rocked and then being calm and collected.
Obviously, the fight didn't last as long as maybe you would have expected, but what were you expecting coming into tonight against him? What type of fight?
I mean, ideally, I want to get in there, grind a guy out, take him down, beat him up. I was prepared for 25 minutes, but looking for less, but in my favor.
So a big win for Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie. He is back. Man, he is back. Now, you got to think this opens up the door for the UFC's return to South Korea. Of course, we were there, about a year and a half ago for a fantastic show. There's not a lot of big arenas there, but, man, the crowd is awesome, extremely spirited. There's a handful of fighters that show some talent, and certainly they seem to just be getting better. And this is a big name right here coming back. Of course, I'm sure he would have loved to have been on that card. Now, if you remember, when we were over there, we talked about it. The arena that the UFC was in was part of the Olympic complex, and it was actually being shut down almost immediately after the UFC left to get some reconstruction done to it. They were just kind of rebuilding it, and I think from what I understand, it's just about done. So maybe a return to South Korea sometime this year. I don't know. We'll find out. The Asian market is still kind of being resettled over there. They've got a press conference coming up soon to talk about the future of the market. They do still have an office in Singapore. Of course, WME-IMG has an office over there as well. I think they're consolidating all their operations. But you got to think South Korea is a target to get back to. And big part of it is just having the facilities. And it sounds like they may have those facilities ready to go real soon. Man, who wouldn't want to see Zombie fighting over there? Do Ho Choi, of course, being on there as well. And of course, a handful of fighters on the lower tier as well that certainly would bring entertainment. All right, co-main event, big fight there. Felice Herrig with the upset of Alexa Grasso. What can you say here? Felice Herrig, I thought looked fantastic, and I thought Alexa Grasso looked flat, I guess might be the right word. Just, I don't want to take away from Felice Herrig because Alexa Grasso was coming out and looked a little hesitant at time, but even then once she did kind of get the rhythm going, man, Felice was just ready for everything. Counter-punching, landing solid shots on the return. It was funny because, since I was watching in the back, I got to see some of the pre-fight video and packages and, that they were saying this was a striker versus grappler matchup. I didn't necessarily believe that. I'm not sure where they got that from. Does Felice Herrig have some grappling? Yeah, but I didn't think it was, the traditional Muay Thai versus Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter or what have you that they would have had you believe. But, man, I just can't say enough about Felice Herrig's performance here. It was a big one for her. And I think it's one of those things where you hate to take away from anything that Felice accomplished by looking at Alexa Grasso. But, I don't know what it is. Something just didn't seem right. Those of us that were in the back. The interesting thing about watching the fights in the back is, when I'm on press row, you're kind of on an island out there. I mean, you do have, one or two people to each side of you. Sometimes I know you guys see on TV, I'll have empty seats next to me. I won't have anybody around, so there's nobody to really talk to. But, you're doing play-by-plays. You're tweeting results. You're doing so much stuff that it's kind of even hard to really keep a conversation going with anybody around you, and you definitely can't be reactive. Certainly there's no cheering on press row and that sort of thing or whatever. But when you're in the back, there's a little bit more freedom, and you're certainly not going to cheer, but it's a little bit more free to kind of just be like, man, does she look off tonight, or was this what you were expecting? And I think that was a lot of what was happening in the back tonight. The crew that we have, hell, they might as well be part of the road show. Dave Mandel from Sherdog, Casey Lighting from MMA Fighting. That was the homies as usual that were standing to the side of me in the scrums, and I think we all kind of had the same feeling like, man, this is just not the fight I was expecting. And you don't want to take away from Felice Herrig and what she accomplished there, but I don't know. Alexa Grasso just didn't look on. And I see a lot of criticism, man. I see a lot of people that are coming out of the woodwork and saying, man, this Alexa Grasso is not what we thought she was. I'm not ready to make that call just yet. I'm really not. I mean, first of all, she's incredibly young. Second of all, she's had a hell of a lot of pressure on her back, man. It's always about expectations. And I think, maybe it all got caught up to her, but I'm not ready to shut the door on her yet. I think, there's a bright future ahead of her. But Felicia Herrig deserves a lot of credit as well. Doesn't have the greatest career record in the world, that's for sure, but somebody who's been around for a long time, has fought a lot of tough names, has, as she said, dedicated her life, gave her youth to the sport, and there's no question she's done that. And this was another big win for her. Followed it up, now has a 2-fight winning streak going. And, it's funny, she hinted on it, and maybe there's been some articles out, and I just haven't seen it, and I want to do some more research on it, but she talked about kind of getting her levels in check and her and holistic approach to how she handles her diet and her sleeping and all these things that she's trying to regulate, and it's important for a fighter. So I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued by that. I mean, on the one hand, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of one of these people that thinks there's a lot of scam artists out there, I guess, for lack of a better term, that say this is the magic cure, that's the magic cure. Now, it doesn't take more than a quick look at me to see that I don't make the healthiest decisions in life. There's no question about that. But, I do always wonder, like, oh, now this is the famous solution. This is the what really made the difference. But damn it, Felicia Herrig has looked good in her last couple fights. So I'm interested to find out a little bit more about exactly what it is she's doing, because she believes in it. She thinks that she's done it right. And, man, it's hard to argue with the results that she's had in her last 2 fights. Going forward, I thought it was cool. In the post-fight press conference, she came in. She actually had the longest scrum/post-fight press conference of the evening. But and part of it was because she's comfortable on the microphone. She's willing to talk and expand, and not just give short answers. But she mentioned that at this point in her life, man, she'd like to fight twice a year, and that's enough for her. She doesn't want to overwork herself. She doesn't want to run her body into the ground. She feels like she's finally getting her levels where they need to be and getting her body where it needs to be, and that's enough for her. Now, she said, don't think that means the UFC can't call me and talk to me and see what's up. But, I'm not trying to get in there and fight every 2 months. I'm not trying to be Cowboy Cerrone or whatever. This is where I'm at in my life. She did mention as well, I thought a very interesting fact that, she was offered the Michelle Waterson fight in Sacramento, and I had not heard this, to be honest with you. She was offered the Michelle Waterson fight in Sacramento, and she accepted, and then it was yanked from her, and it was given to Paige Van Zant. And I found that to be interesting. I was not aware of that fact. And she says, hey, I'd really like that Waterson fight. That would mean a lot to me. So it makes sense to me. I think it's a good fight to make, especially, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, especially since we know that Jessica Andrade is going to be challenging next for the title against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. And god damn, I'm glad she is. That's going to be a hell of a fight. We'll talk about that in just a second. But if you want to check out the whole interview with Felicia Herrig, do go to the MMA Junkie YouTube page, and I've got that whole video there. Like I said, not super long. I think it's about 8 or 9 minutes, but it was the longest scrum that we did have of the night. But she did have some very interesting stuff to say, so check that out. Just below that, James Vick picking up a big win over Abel Trujillo. A 3rd-round submission win via Darce choke. James Vick looked good tonight, man. Thought he had the Darce choke in the 2nd round, to be honest with you, but somehow Abel Trujillo was able to survive that. I have no idea how he gutted himself through that. But James Vick just came out, popped him with a knee, and was able to get the Darce choke locked up again and get the 3rd-round finish of James Vick. It's funny. This was another one of those fights I went back and forth on. I think I was the only one on staff to pick Abel Trujillo. Again, I had just a rough night. I picked Grasso, too. So if you're counting at home, 0-3 so far in the top 3 fights of the night. I thought Abel Trujillo's wrestling was going to give James Vick more problems. But, man, James Vick with those long arms, dude, he's so quick to go to that choke that, like, even when you're taking him down, if you don't get him down right away and get inside control, man, you're risking being wrapped up by those lanky arms of his. So, impressive stuff. And James Vick, just, I don't know, man, a bundle of energy, that's for sure. Still seems like kind of a raw talent to me, but he's saying, listen, I don't see why people don't respect my wrestling. I don't see why they don't see that I've got game. And man, he does. Quietly now, 6-1 in the UFC. 6-1 in the UFC, 10-1 career record. That's amazing. the fellow Texan, the Texecutioner, saying he wants to fight in May again. He wants to fight in Dallas. Makes a lot of sense. I think, again, all of us Texans are proud Texans, and I'm sure he'd love to fight on that card. But just a great performance. I mean, I don't know what to say here. Again, I did offer the concerns that, Abel Trujillo would his, would the fact that he wasn't in the Black Zillions camp affect him, the fact that there was all that going on. But, he seemed like he was level-headed about it. We talked before the fight, and he was like, listen, no, I'm good, man. I just, built my own training camp, got my own coaches around me, and I think we set up things right. And, was he a little slow to pull the trigger? Probably. I think so. I think he is a powerful striker when he wants to be, but he has had some gas tank issues too. So when he was kind of taking things a little bit patient in the opening round, I didn't really have a problem with that. He's dealing with that massive range that Vick has that he's got to try to get past, and so we did that. But man, Vick just it continues to improve. I mean, he's not a young kid. He'll turn 30 later this month, but he's still on the rise, that's for sure. So impressive win from James Vick, and I think that's a no-brainer, man. You put him on that card in May in Dallas, which should be a fun one, and he'll be one of a couple of Texans that won on the card that promised something funny. We'll get to this one in a second because one of the backstage surprises of the night was really good. But let's hear first from James Vick, who talked quickly about his big win.
Mr. Vick, sir, congratulations.
Thank you.
Excellent job. Obviously, you need to bounce back, in a pretty big way from what happened to you last summer. Can you talk about doing that in your home state? I mean, how good that kind of felt when you got in there?
It's great. It's so great. I'm like a little kid right now. I'm so happy. This is my state. I love to fight here. I wish I could fight in Texas more often. And the outcome is what I envisioned. I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, and I study this stuff like religiously. And I visualized this, and I pictured it literally to the exact finish, the Darce choke. And I knew, I just knew it was going to happen. I really believe in my process, and I believe in everything. I knew it was going to happen for me.
So that was your game plan going in. You didn't talk to us necessarily about what your game plan was going to be the other day, but you saw it going down exactly like that.
100%.
Get to the ground and choke him.
Yeah, I knew that. Well, I knew that it was going to present itself because I knew that he was going to try to wrestle me. I knew he was going to try to wrestle me. I knew a lot of these guys. I don't know why they think I can't wrestle. I've been taken down a few times in the UFC, but no one's ever held me down. Like, the longest I've been held down, I think, was a couple fights ago for like maybe a couple minutes, and the dude literally did nothing on top. So a couple guys have gotten me down, but no one's been able to get me down, keep me down, and then I'm always a threat with my submission game, my neck attacks, and me and my coaches have drilled those moves thousands and thousands of reps, and I knew that was the one that I would catch them in.
Do you think guys feel like because you're usually so much taller than a lot, I mean, you had a pretty good height advantage today, that he might have felt like, it's going to be a little bit easier to get you off your feet?
Yeah, that and the fact that I've never wrestled, and I mean, realistically, he should be able to take me down. He's a 3-time NA All-American. Why shouldn't he take me down? But I work hard, and I caught up, and I have great coaching staff, and I believe in myself, and my coaches believe in me. I believe in them, and I've progressed, and I'm not just someone you can just come take down, and then you got to protect your neck when you do go for takedowns with me anyway.
The first couple times in the second round that you had that choke on, it looked to be pretty tight. I mean, did you feel like, especially on the second one, that if you couldn't get it right then, that it was just that you had kind of crossed over that threshold and you'd be able to easily get it in the third if it came up again?
I just couldn't believe he got out of it, to be honest with you. He did the right defense. He tried to flatten out his chest and flatten himself out. But honestly, it sounds weird, but I think I had it too deep. Sometimes I have problems with my arms are so long that when I fight guys my weight class, I have a problem adjusting it, and I guess I need to drill that a little more. But I felt like maybe I shot the arm a little too deep because as I was looking and I was squeezing, I could see how high my arm, my forearm was up, and I felt like I needed to pull it down a little bit, and I just didn't adjust it in time. And then the second time when I got it, I knew it was on. I heard him gurgling and making these weird noises, and I knew I wasn't letting go of it. He was done.
You talked right at the start about you wish you could fight in Texas all the time, and obviously that you asked in a pretty big way for that card coming up in May. Is there anybody that you would want to fight on that card, or you just want to get on it, period, and make sure you're fighting in Dallas?
I want to make sure I'm getting on it, period. I would like to fight someone in the top 15. I want to be, I want to move up. My goal is to be a world champion. I got my chance last time and I blew it, and I'm going to redeem myself. I know that I'm one of the best fighters in the world, that I know I can contend with these guys, and I would love to fight someone in the top 10, top 15. I would love to fight one of the guys I've lost to, Benil again, or Michael Chiesa. I know that's probably not going to happen, but above all, I want to be on the card, though, for sure. I want to be on the card. I want to fight on that card 100%.
Thanks, man.
And I want on the main card. I don't want on the prelims. I want on the pay-per-view.
So the always excitable James Vick talking about his impressive win. Now, I guess probably the only, slow spot on the night, or at least of the main card for sure, Volkan Ozdemir picked up a split decision win over Ovince St. Preux. Talked to both these guys in the week leading up to the fight. Ovince St. Preux, I thought, was focused. I thought, mentally seemed like he was in a good place, talking about the things he was working on. But, man, just seemed to have some troubles here. Volkan Ozdemir came in with an impressive career record, great mindset as well, man. The confidence that he was displaying early on in the week and talking about what he came to accomplish, was not intimidated by the moment at all. Said, listen, I'm here to fight the best, so why wait? If I can jump in right now and fight a guy that's ranked, why the hell not? And was going his way early. All three judges agree that Volkan Ozdemir picked up the first round. All three judges agree that Ovince St. Preux picked up the third round. It was just the second round where the judges were split. 2 or 3 judges leaning towards Volkan Ozdemir in that round. Listen, we at the time were interviewing Marcel Fortuna, so the second round is one that I'm going to have to go back and watch, and that's really the honesty of what I can say. To sit here and say to you that I know for sure who won that fight, I would be absolutely lying to you, and that's the last thing I want to do. But overall, just the parts that I did see, and I will say all respect to everybody in the room, but I was peeking over my shoulder. I was looking at the monitors that were showing the fight, even though that was going on, and kind of seeing what I saw, and it looked to be kind of a disappointing fight, to be honest with you, and it did see the other rounds, and obviously it sucks because those rounds were super clear, and there's really no argument about either one of them. It's really just how we go that second round. I can tell you that Matt Erickson, who was sitting cage side, he actually gave that round. That second round to Ovince St. Preux. So the official MMA Junkie scorecard had that second round going towards St. Preux, and the fight going towards St. Preux 29-28. Now, what that means? Nothing. Doesn't mean anything. But I guess the thing that I do see is that I feel like St. Preux is such a talented athlete and is raw, but just doesn't seem to be getting to that next level, and it just doesn't seem to be just developing, I guess. And I don't know if that's an issue with not going and training with bigger academies and bigger schools. I mean, I think there's something definitely to be said for having a camp built directly around you so that you're the primary focus of the camp. But I don't know, just I feel like there's something missing. I don't know what it is. By the way, I should say that UFC.com, the stats provided by Fight Metric, do have that second round leaning slightly towards Volkan Ozdemir with 29 total strikes to 25. So certainly can't use numbers to determine. But if you're looking for something to debate, there you go. And I'm going to go back and watch round 2 so I can have a more clear-cut idea of who I think won this fight. Now, let me just say, I picked Ovince St. Preux. That's right. 0-4 through the top 4 fights. You know which one I did pick right? I picked Marcel Fortuna beating Anthony Hamilton. And if you thought I thought he would knock him out, you're crazy. Not in a million years did I think this was going to happen. But it did. A guy that was outweighed by 50 pounds scored the devastating knockout. What an incredible debut for Marcel Fortuna. This was just a shocking result here. Not necessarily the result of how it happened. I mean, yes, he was an underdog going in, and rightfully so, especially with such a massive size advantage. But nobody Nobody. Now, listen, I know maybe some people were like, hey, Valentina Shevchenko, her grappling game is underrated. And so for people to say her to win by armbar wasn't entirely out of the realm of possibility. But you find me one person on earth that thought Marcel Fortuna was going to win by knockout. Find me one, because I'm going to tell you what. Marcel Fortuna didn't even think he was going to win by knockout.
Big win for you tonight. In a million years, did you see yourself coming in and winning by knockout?
Not really. The goal is try to keep the distance and find the opportunity to take him to the ground. But, I got to work the distance and work my hands, and it worked well even before I got to take him to the ground.
I know that you guys have to have confidence in yourself when you step in the cage. But when a guy on the other side has a 50-pound weight advantage on you, is that a little bit intimidating?
Yeah, I was a little bit intimidated by it. I just was really worried about him putting me on the fence or being on top of me and using all his strength and weight. So I tried to avoid that. And in the beginning, we got a little bit on the fence, but I got to move out of it. So I'm glad the strategy worked.
What did the power feel like in there? Was it a little? Was he as powerful as you thought he'd be?
Yeah, man, my ribs are hurting right now. My face is busted. The guy's really strong.
But it paid off. You took a gamble. You came in on short notice, a tough opponent. But the future for you, I'm assuming it lies at light heavyweight?
Right, yeah, that's my division. I took this fight on short notice. So, like I was telling before, it was a good thing that I didn't do the ideal camp for it, but at least I didn't have to cut the weight or anything. So that was good.
Now the cut, did that factor in psychologically where you're like, okay, now I really need to make something happen?
I was just worried about, get stopped or, the cut being on the way and, dripping all over my face and annoying me during the fight. But at least, I got to finish the fight before it got too messy.
Did that make you want to go ahead and finish it early?
A little bit, yeah. That also made me want it more. Yeah.
Staying at heavyweight, you excited to get to eat a little bit more, or?
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with weight because light heavyweight I also don't cut that much. So, I like to eat well.
Overall, what was your impression of the experience? Being on the big stage, being in the UFC, what will you take from this?
Man, I'm so glad. It's a dream, I've been working my whole life to get here, and my debut being a victory and my first knockout, so it's a dream, it's real.
Yeah, I feel like you've done that before, you put a little extra on it with the walk-offs.
Man, yeah, I think it's because I was so calm, and I saw that, when I felt that my hand landed on him, and then when he went down and I saw that he was really loose and his arm turned when he was on the floor, I was like, oh, he's out. And then I walked, and a few seconds later, that was like, oh my gosh, I win. And then I started screaming and stuff.
Heck of a way to make a first impression. As he said, he'll go down to light heavyweight. Obviously, just weighed in at 210 pounds at the official weigh-in. So he'll go down to light heavyweight and see what he can do there. Hey, man, you get the call from the UFC, you step in, you roll the dice, and you just see what happens, man. Good for him for making good, because that even he said it was a little bit scary. All right, the main card opened up with Jessica Andrade defeating Angela Hill. That's right, I picked Angela Hill. I went 1-5 on the main card. Worst night of fights ever for me picking. Just awful. It makes me feel like I have no idea what I'm talking about. And I don't. Let's be honest, I really have no idea. 1-5. Terrible. All right, Jessica Andrade. She looked fantastic. Here's what I thought, and I'll be honest with you. So Angela Hill, I did think Angela Hill looked a lot improved, and I thought mentally she was improved. I thought physically she was improved over what I watched over the last year. And what I honestly thought was going to happen was that Andrade was going to slow down a little bit as this fight wore on. Now, I definitely knew that she was coming and dropping bombs, and boy, did she. And boy, did Angela Hill soak up some of those shots. Man, she showed a chin. She really did. They stood toe-to-toe, and there's no question about it. Jessica Andrade got the best of it. But what I thought might happen was that Jessica Andrade would slow as the fight wore on. And that's why I kind of rolled the dice a little bit on Angela Hill. Knowing that she had the motivation, knowing that she was feeling the excitement of being back in the UFC, knowing that she had gained a lot by being the champion of Invicta, I thought that maybe she would be able to show a little bit of that savage. I think she did. I think she gained fans in this fight. But Jessica Andrade, just relentless moving forward, throwing bombs nonstop. Went all 15 minutes. And, I don't know if she could have kept that pace up for another 2 rounds. But I know that it didn't look like she was done. I know that it didn't look like she was just running on fumes and coasting her way into the garage. So I thought this was an incredible performance by Jessica Andrade. Really a super fight. And I'll be honest with you, us, the media in the back, we actually asked if we could get Angela Hill to come back too. Just because it was such a great fight, we were like, hey, do you mind if we talk to her as well? So if you're interested in that, you can pick up, you can watch that whole thing on the MMA Junkie YouTube channel. But really, Jessica Andrade, I gotta say, and UFC President Dana White said it, in the post-fight show on Fox that she's got to be next, and I agree. There were rumors that maybe Michelle Waterson would get the fight with Joanna Jędrzejczyk, and I mean, great. It would be marketable. Michelle Waterson looked great last time out. She's got an incredible story. The documentary Fight Mom about her is amazing. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons you could sell that fight, but man, what'll really sell the fight is to just show the highlight reel of Jessica Andrade, and man, she's not afraid to walk through shots. She's just not afraid to walk through shots. And can she walk through Joanna Jędrzejczyk's shots? Whoo, I don't know. I'm telling you, Jędrzejczyk, it's volume, right? I mean, it's volume. It's nonstop. It's relentless. It's pressure. It's just nonstop aggression, nonstop battery of shots from all angles, right? But Andrade, power, and the body shots. Oh my God, the body shots, the way she digs to the body, amazing, man, amazing. I think this fight is up there on my list now of fights I can't wait to see. This one moved to the top. Before this performance, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't say I wasn't sold, because I've liked Andrade and I've liked what I've seen, and she definitely looks a lot better than she did at 135. I mean, of course, she was so undersized at 135, but now her body's in good shape. Her cardio is improving, and damn it, I'm giving her a chance. I think this might be the first person that I'm really giving a chance against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Am I crazy? Maybe it's because it's almost 5 o'clock in the morning here. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just insane. But I'm telling you, the power that she brings, the relentless, she'll be moving forward. Jędrzejczyk's not going to push her around the cage. Jędrzejczyk's not going to intimidate her. Oh, what a great fight. And it'll be interesting to see where they put that fight. I mean, you got a Brazilian who doesn't speak any English. You got Jędrzejczyk, who's Polish, that does speak, obviously, great English. You could do the fight in Brazil. I don't know if Jędrzejczyk would want to go down there. There is going to be, I think, they've talked about maybe a June card in Rio is what everybody's kind of rumbling about down in Brazil. Maybe that might be a great, because I think it could be it could be a pay-per-view fight, right? Maybe you do it at one of the shows over in Europe. Let Jędrzejczyk kind of fight, defend on friendly ground. I haven't heard any rumors of going back to Poland. If you'll think about it, Poland is, if you'll remember, Poland is dominated by KSW. Dominated. Like, it's on their broadcast television. It's one of the few regional markets in the entire world where, another organization is the dominant brand, but KSW is the dominant brand. So I don't know if the UFC, man, it'd be a great fight to bring there to try to reignite it, but I haven't heard anything about Poland. So, but I don't know. Maybe you do it at one of these shows that's going to be over there, and let Jędrzejczyk do that, or hell, you put it in Vegas somewhere. I think it's a big fight, so I'm pumped for that fight. I really am. So yeah, that wraps up my 1-5 main card. Holy Christ, I gotta do better in Brooklyn. If you guys got tips for me, hit me up. Hit me up, because I did terrible. All right, let's hear from Jessica Andrade, because, let's hear from her interpreter as well. But she does make the call out. She says she's ready, and it sounds like Dana White's on board. Hell, I know I am.
Well, first of all, just an absolutely incredible fight tonight. Talk about how she felt about her performance this season.
Yeah, it was a really amazing fight. She knew coming into the fight that she could possibly take the fight to the ground and maybe make it easier, but that's not the point. She's on a title run right now. She wants to take Joanna's belt, and that was a good test to just stand and bang with one of the best strikers in the division, and just to make sure that she can do that for 15 minutes.
Talk about the pace as well. I think we thought, maybe cardio issues have shown in the past, but that pace was high throughout. I just feel like she answered a lot of questions there.
Yeah, she was really prepared for this fight, conditioning-wise. There was a problem of her fight in December being canceled, so she pretty much went from one camp straight to the next one. So it ended up being like a 3-4 month camp, which is not ideal, but still she worked a lot on her strength and conditioning. And she feels that if it went to 5 rounds, she would be ready and in a position to keep the same pace for the entire thing.
She mentioned the champ. I mean, the champ is waiting on a fight right now. After a performance like that, I could think that people would want to see that. Do you feel like you're the rightful #1 contender right now?
So by beating Angela, she's now the uncrowned Invicta champion. So let's unify the belts. Let's see who is the best strawweight out there. And we know that Joanna is waiting for a fight. So whenever she's up for it, April, May, whatever, just make sure we know the date and we'll be ready.
I know you were working with Angelo Reyes in Vegas. What were some of the things that he was helping you out with?
Angelo has a very special way of working with fighters, and he comes from a different background than most coaches out there. So it was maybe luck that the fight in December got canceled, and we ended up in Vegas, and we got to train with Robert, we got to train with Angelo, and pick up a few things here and there. It was not really enough to, actually pick up and make proper changes with maybe, hopefully we can do for a title fight, but still, minor details make a lot of difference in the game.
Hey, by the way, you like what you're hearing? If you do us a favor. Log into iTunes real quick. Just real quick. Do it real quick. You can press pause, or you can leave it still playing, I think. Just log in real quick on iTunes. Just give me some love for being up at 5 o'clock in the morning like an idiot. You could be like, just give us a couple 5 stars if you don't mind. 5 stars, we'd appreciate it. Positives, negatives, whatever kind of feedback you got. You could be like the Architect 24 said, my favorite show to listen to get ready for a card, and the and a half is my favorite post-fight show. Keep up the good work and appreciate y'all getting me ready for the fights. Architect, no problem. Sorry my man Cold Coffee's not here. I hope that's okay to everybody. I'm doing my best. If you got some advice for me, give it that feedback. If you think we're doing good, do it there. If you don't think I'm doing good, I'm going to send Curtis Blades after you. That's what's up. How about Curtis Blades, man? How great did he look? Just throwing Adam Milstead around the cage. Looked impressive. Guy really does look like he could be something, man. Physically, the power is incredible. He's a wrestler heart, and he has no problem admitting that. That's his go-to, is to get people on the ground. That's what he wants to do. That's what he knows best, and he did it well tonight. I think the great thing to see from Curtis Blades was, man, the guy was disappointed with the win. And I know that sounds weird, but like, for him to be instantly disappointed, and he was. I mean, you could see the reaction on his face as soon as the fight was waved off. He knew it was waved off because of the knee injury, and he was disappointed by it. He was like, and I had a chance to ask him about it backstage. And I'm like, what was going on with that? And he said, well, I don't want to beat somebody by an injury. And I'm like, Curtis, you do realize that the injury came because you were throwing him around like a rag doll. And, his body basically just gave out. I mean, the positions that he was in, the pressure, the weight, the strength, you understand that's what happened. It's not like he just rolled his ankle taking a bad step and he was like, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm like, dude, come on, man. But the guy has a fantastic attitude. His full scrum is up there on YouTube if you want to check it out. Just, God, what can you say about the guy? I mean, 7 wins, all by stoppage, all by knockout or TKO. The one loss to Francis Ngannou came in his UFC debut back in April of last year. Where were we at? Was that Croatia? Yeah, Croatia. You'll remember that was a cut that stopped it. Now, he was losing the fight anyway, but, I mean, you look at what Francis Ngannou's gone on to do, just devastating people. And, Curtis Blades was hanging in there. So just interesting to hear, his perspective. I think the guy is incredibly humble. He's training with the Elevation Fight team up there in Colorado. So he said, man, training at altitude is really helping me. My cardio is getting better. My hands are getting better. I'm really focusing on my hands. And, once my hands get to match my wrestling, I'm going to be dangerous. He said, listen, I've got kind of mixed feelings about people putting this prospect tag on me because I know that I've got holes in my game, but I'm working on them, and I'm going to get better at them. And, man, I just love the guy's attitude. And, of course, an absolute specimen. Watch him throwing people around is something incredible. So definitely somebody you want to keep your eye on. Sounds like he's not in any huge rush to get up to the top, but I can respect the hell out of that, man. The guy just wants to get better. Chas Skelly picked up a win over Chris Grutzemacher, rear naked choke, vicious looking rear naked choke, man. Looked painful. And Chris Grutzemacher, man, he's a tough guy. This was kind of one of those fights. Two guys with incredible records, two guys that are tough as nails, but two guys that are kind of your blue collar lunch pail kind of fighters. They really, I don't think, had a lot of hype going into it, but I thought this was a really good fight between two skilled competitors. And I thought Chas Skelly put on a fantastic performance. Just again, that choke was just absolutely brutal. The way he set it up, I thought the switching back and forth and then sneaking it underneath, I just thought it looked great. And then the squeeze on there was devastating. But you know what impressed me more than anything else? Chas Skelly has got some microphone skills. This dude came back to the back, and again, I was in the press room all night long, so I was doing interviews back there. And I've watched Chas. I've watched his career. I've been impressed by it. I think that he does a fantastic job. I think he's a talented fighter, but just seemed kind of vanilla to me, I guess would be the proper term. But listen to what this dude does in the press room.
So it's obviously a big win for you tonight over a tough opponent, man. How did it feel in there, and how do you feel about your performance?
I'd like to start by saying that this was very confusing. I'm not sure which way to turn this. I felt, to be honest with you, I felt good, man. Everything came together. I feel like these guys don't understand. They need to fight me now, because I'm improving every single time I come out. I'm improving, man. I'm gone, and I made the move to Florida. And I'm doing the right things, and I'm putting everything together. I'm putting my heart and soul into this. So I get better and better every time I step in there. And you're seeing it. Like, even though I felt like I could have stood up and outstruck him the entire time, because I don't think the only thing he hit me with was a body kick the entire fight. I decided to make it a complete fight, take him down, do a little bit of work on the ground. I wish I would have thrown a little more punches on the ground, but he was doing a good job of keeping his hips offline, so I couldn't get great position on him. And to answer your question, overall, I thought it was a really good fight. I thought I fought a complete fight, and I won everywhere, and that's the main goal, is just to dominate.
And a great finish as well. Can you talk us through that? I mean, just kind of how you set it up. And we couldn't tell. I mean, was it really under the neck and a full rear naked choke? Was the neck crank there? What did you have there?
No, I'm a guy that comes out and gets punched in the head for a living, so the only thing I know how to do is throw punches and squeeze things hard. That's what I did. No, I basically, to tell you the truth, what I was doing was, he was doing a really, really good job at only keeping one hook in. He was only letting me get one hook in, and he was keeping me offline, so I couldn't scoot around, because I'm really good at scooting around the back, getting the other hook. So what I did is, how did we defeat Germany in World War II? We attacked them on both fronts at the same time. That's what I did. I threw a choke in as I threw the other hook in, and it just so happened that I guess he hasn't defended very many chokes where somebody's good at choking on the chin, because he looked into it, and that's just something you can't do with me, because I'm really, really, really good at finishing there. I got a good squeeze, so.
Nice. And you talked about being on the rise. Just can you talk about? I mean, you don't seem like a guy that is vocal, talks a lot of trash, that sort of thing. But at the same time, you have a really impressive record in the UFC and your career overall. So, what do you think it's going to take for you to get that recognition that you deserve?
So you're saying I can fight good, but I'm dumb? You saying I can't talk?
No,
I'm not a good talker.
As vocal. That doesn't make them dumb.
I'm just kidding. No, I like to talk trash, man. I love it, but to me, this is a sport. This is how we make our living. I'm not gonna verbally attack somebody who's just trying to make a living and out doing the same thing I am. Now, if somebody wanted to start a shit-talking battle with me, I would love that, because actually I feel like I'm a better shit-talker than I am a fighter. But just for me, that's just not my style, man. I just get in there, I grind it out every day, and I work hard, and I expect the person who's coming to fight me to do the same thing. And I think we can make fireworks in the cage. There's no reason to try and degrade each other outside of it.
How long did you think about your call-out at the end of the bout, man?
Do what?
How long did you think about your call-out? Was that something you had planned out or anything like that?
For the Dallas card?
Yeah.
Oh, man, as soon as I heard that they were fighting in Dallas, I was like, that was my main goal. I was like, I need to get out here and win this fight so I can make sure I get on that Dallas card, because you got to understand, I came from a small town, man. I came from a town, Azle, Texas. I'm proud to be from Azle, Texas, small town in Texas right outside of Fort Worth. And the people in my town, these tickets are expensive. These hotel rooms are expensive. These guys can't come out and make the drive and pay all the money for the tickets and come and see. So I want to fight in Dallas, where I know that some of the people that aren't able to make the trip to watch me fight in other places can come out there. If I fight in Dallas, you are going to see more people with sleeveless shirts screaming, "Kick his ass, Chas!" than you've ever seen in your life, I promise you.
Did you feel like you had to represent for Texas because the 2 previous fighters from Texas lost earlier? Were you watching in the back?
Yeah, I was watching in the back, but, I don't really think about that. I don't look at it like that because, to be honest with you, when you're in the back there, if you're thinking about what other people are doing, I've had fights where guys came back mangled up, crying in the corner right before I get out there. I'm like, dude, pick yourself up, put yourself together. I got to go out. This is terrifying. But no, I don't care what happens to fights before me, and I don't really care where they're from or even if we're friends at that point, because it's not about them, it's about me. I'm about to go out there and do my job. So.
You had a pretty complete bout out there, man. What are you trying to work on for the next one?
I'm trying to work on my tan, to be honest. I am white, like pasty white. It's almost embarrassing. Like I am training. Well, I'm from Texas, training in Florida, so there's beaches all around me. And I am like the whitest dude around. It's just embarrassing. So, yeah, I think next time maybe I'll start tanning. Maybe I'll even spray tan before I come. I just don't want that to like start running off, while I'm cutting weight and shit. So I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Find out for a gym.
Yeah.
What was your walkout song tonight?
How to Be the Man by Riff Raff, Slim Thug and Paul Wall. Yeah, I mean Houston, Texas represent, baby.
I think I was kind of surprised by that song. Is that?
I mean,
are you a big hip hop head or what's going on?
Do I look like a big hip hop fan? No, I'm just kidding. No, I listen to everything, man. I listen to all genres of music. I like it. Whatever I'm in the mood for, that's what I'm listening to. I mean, I always come out to Fancy by Iggy Azalea. You think I sit around the house listening to that in my panties? I don't think so. Well, only when I'm wearing my red lipstick.
So Chas Skelly, first of all, trying to call me out, telling me I called him stupid. And then promising plenty of shirts or sleeveless support. Sleeveless shirts will be going wild in Dallas. So another fellow Texan there. Maybe he'll be on that Dallas card as well. I'm actually anxious for that, man. It kind of works out great. Guys, Dallas is my hometown. My wife and son will be back in town by that point in time, and it will actually be my son turns 5 years old on May 12th. So it's pretty freaking awesome. I get to have a free trip back to Dallas, and I'm gonna bring my family with me, and then we're gonna watch some fights. We're gonna do a little and a half, and then we're gonna celebrate my son's birthday with my parents in Dallas. So pretty stoked about that. So, damn it, UFC, put a nice card together for us. All right. Ricardo Lucas Ramos picked up the unanimous decision win over Michinori Tanaka. You'll notice the change in pronunciation that John Anik was so deftly using this week. It's not Tanaka, it's Tanaka, which kind of made me think of the Hanukkah song. I don't know. It just got stuck in my head while that fight was going on. But a great win here by Ramos, or Ramos, if you will. Young kid, man. I mean, really young kid. Got a cool story. Was supposed to be on in the UFC earlier. Was at a fight where Dana White was there for Dana White looking for a fight. He lost that fight, admitted he was just nervous as hell because Dana White was there. Still ended up getting a shot in the UFC and put on the victory tonight. So a good kid. Certainly a big win for him. Tisha Torres opened up the FS1 preliminary card with a unanimous decision win over Beck Rawlings. Tisha dominated here, no question about it. Told you guys earlier this week, Beck Rawlings, love interviewing her, man. Such a fun person to talk to. I just love how open she is and the things that she says and the things she talks about and the personality that she is. But Tisha's tough, man. There's just no way around it. She is a top-ranked fighter, and she had that one setback. If there's a knock on Tisha Torres, it's the finishes. Would love to see her pick up some more finishes, but she is sound in everything that she does. She really is. And just overall, man, man, she's just solid. She is solid at everything she does. And, definitely says, listen, put me back in action faster this time. I don't want to be sitting out as long. Sean Shelby, get to work and get me another fight. She also, by the way, showed up wearing a ring that people took notice of. I think it was Casey Leiden from MMA Fighting that asked her about her ring, and Of course, Raquel Pennington was sitting off to the side. Tisha said it was a promise ring, but she expects a bigger one very soon when she gets to the next level. So interesting stuff there. All right, Nico Price on the UFC Fight Pass for the card. Nico Price, Alex Morono. We said this was going to be a barn burner, and it was, man. Back and forth stuff. I told you, Morono, man, he has really impressed me. I thought Muntazri was going to be hell for him, and Morono fought through that and just so gritty and looked good early on in this fight. But then Nico just battled back, scored the huge knockout win right at the buzzer, right at the bell of round 2, and another big win for Nico. This dude, he's a little bit crazy, man. There's no doubt about it. This kid's a little bit crazy. His manager, Alex Davis, told me, he'd kind of said, like, dude, I don't think you should take this fight, man. I think you should take a little break, rest up, work on your skills a little bit, take some time, get back in there. And Nico wanted to take the fight anyway. He said, listen, I wasn't happy with the way I fought tonight. I wanted to come in there. I didn't want to brawl, and I ended up brawling. He's like, I didn't want to get touched. And I think what he said is he looked like a chipmunk with nuts in his cheeks because he was all swollen up. And but a big win for Nico nonetheless. The guy is somebody to watch out for. If you watch his fights that he's had up to this point, man, he's just he's a fighter, man. He's just a fighter. He's vicious. He's aggressive. And I think he's somebody to keep an eye on. And I like Alex Morono too, man. I really do, man. The toughness in that kid is something impressive to watch. And the prelims opened up with Khalil Roundtree picking up a much-needed win over Daniel Jolly. Big knockout win. Huge knee. The second knee was a little, to be honest with you, I thought it might have been illegal. It was tough to see. I was watching the replays in the back. It seems like maybe that second knee just didn't land to the head, and because of it, it was ruled illegal. I think to be honest, Jolly was out with the first knee anyway, but it was dangerously close. And of course, in Texas, we were using the old rules because my lovely home commission here is always a step behind. But nonetheless, it doesn't take away from how impressive that was. Takedown defense was solid there. I mean, obviously, it was less than a minute of it. But takedown defense and then landed that knee. And what was even more impressive was, and you can check it out on, again, the MMA Junkie YouTube channel, or you'll see it on the site as well. But what I thought was cool was Khalil mentioned that his attitude was different. I can't remember if we talked about it at his last fight or not. I know we talked about it off air. But Khalil is kind of a MMA roadshow friend. I mean, I called some of his fights when he was coming up the amateur ranks and Tough Enough. And then Cold Coffee did a lot of his tough blogs, kind of when I was on the road or wherever else. Cold Coffee would stop by Syndicate and do the weekly blog that we were doing with them. And so, we've kind of both developed relationships with Khalil through various reasons over the years. And after the loss in Australia to Tyson Pedro, which, again, Tyson Pedro, I believe that's a talented kid as well, no doubt about it. So not necessarily any shame in it, but it was wild because afterwards Khalil just said, man, like, it's okay. I'm good, man. Like, here I am in Australia. I get a chance to do this, and, win or lose, I just went and fought. And I don't know, man. It was cool that he had that peace, but it wasn't the kind of attitude you want to hear out of a fighter. It was kind of like it was just okay that he lost, And man, I thought tonight afterwards he had a great thing where he said that ultimately Khalil is not about just fighting. Like, he wants to make a social impact. He wants to help kind of change the world through people. But he said it was Coach John Wood that told him, like, listen, if you want to make a social impact, you got to be somebody. He's like, if Shaquille O'Neal says something, it matters. If some dude on the street that nobody's ever heard of says something, it doesn't matter. If Cam Newton says something, it matters. You got to be somebody to make a social change. And Khalil was like, man, you're right. And so I got to win fights so I can be here, so I can accomplish my mission. And, man, I don't know. I thought that was cool, like, just to hear an about-face between a guy over the course of a couple months. Very cool to hear. And amazing how many fights he's had. I mean, the guy has been busy despite having some ups and downs. I do think he has a lot of upside, but we'll see where he goes from here. But I loved his attitude, man. I think it was a much improved attitude. So, listen, fun night of fights. UFC Fight Night 104 ended up being fun. Not the most attended card in history. I will say Dude, man, you may have seen tweets or Instagram I sent earlier. I'm staying about 15 minutes away from the arena, and Matt Erickson was staying even further. He came and picked me up in his car, and we drove down there. And the first parking lot we saw was $50 parking. Freaking insane. $50. And so we were like, well, can't go there. So we were circling around the parking garage to get to the one that had the media, which they had free parking for media, which was awesome. Especially since it was $50. But we had to circle around this one garage, and it literally took us a half hour because the traffic was so dense to just circle around the parking garage right next to the arena. So traffic was insane. Everything was crazy this week, man. Just obviously Super Bowl, you would expect nothing less, but it was insane. There's some positives to the UFC doing a Super Bowl week, and there's definitely some negatives as well. But anyway, listen, it's a little after 5 a.m. I'm going to wrap this up. I will ship this off to Cold Coffee to get it all edited and put together and posted, and hopefully you guys can listen to it and enjoy it before the Super Bowl starts. I'm going to be in Houston for the Super Bowl. Cowboys didn't make it, so I'm not really going to make a big deal out of trying to get into the arena. I'll probably just find me a nice little pub somewhere and enjoy it that way. But anyway, we will be in Brooklyn next week. Cold Coffee will be with me, so the team will be back together for the first ever featherweight title fight. What do you think about that, huh? Excited? I know, right? It's kind of weird. UFC 208, we'll be there in Brooklyn. We'll do it all. We'll have the next episode. We'll do and a half. We'll do all that good stuff, and you won't just have to listen to me talk the whole time. Sound good? All right. Appreciate putting up with me. Thanks for listening.